And the Americans just basically stopped backing the Shah. It's not like they came and installed the mullahs. They stopped supporting their allies and just let the mullahs do what they want. I still blame them
But
when
the French kind of did.
I mean they supported Khomeini, but it wasn't like this was a project of them, right? It wasn't like, but again, I don't want to defend. I don't want to sound because I blame them, but a lot of people might this might come as me defending them, so I'm going to stop. They're at fault, but it's not imperialism. So the part that is imperialism is the Soviets were trying to come and take over. They basically described it as an apple that is ready to basically bite into, and they were spreading communism in Iran. And I think the Islamic takeover of Iran is just all of the ripple effects from what the Soviets were trying to do in Iran, the remaining ripple effects. And a lot of people might blame Mohammad Reza Shah for not resisting the mullahs even harder, but I honestly think that Muhammad Reza Shah and Reza Shah did a miracle to even for us to even have anything of Iran left. Like Iran was stuck between superpowers at that point of time, and we had the Nazis, we had the Americans, we had the Soviets, and we were just stuck right there in the middle. And the British, we had the British, and we were just stuck right there in the middle, and everybody was just basically using Iran like as a highway even before they realized like even before the oil thing, like the World War I, World War II, Iran was just like a highway that they just came and did whatever they want in there. And these were we were just like we were like these were just elephants that we were just under their feet being cried. Our country was taken to the edge of collapse. The fact that anything of Iran is even left is like it's a Pahlavi miracle. And I think the damage that the Soviets inflicted upon Iran was so high that even though Pahlavis managed to, with the level of education, modernization, industrial development, cultural improvement, and economic growth that they brought, I mean, at that point, they managed to create a situation that even though eventually what the Soviets did resulted in the Islamic Revolution of 1979, and people didn't see that coming, but now in hindsight, you could see that it was inevitable. But the amount of, but the Iranian people experienced something under the Pahlavis that made it impossible for the Islamic rule to hold on Iran forever, right? So I consider what the Pahlavis did was they planted a seed, and after the removal, the seed didn't grow into a tree while they were alive, but now you see the results of it after they're gone. And when people blame the Pahlavis for not crushing the protesters, the rioters in 1979, when they're blaming Muhammad Reza Shah for not doing that, I think they don't understand that if he came down and brutally crushed that revolution, that tree would have never grown. And that revolution was unavoidable because of what the Soviets left inside Iran. The commies and basically the unity behind the commies and the Islamists, and the fact that what Muhammad Reza Shah was doing was not yet understood or supported in the degree that it should have been by the population meant that that would eventually lead into a revolution that if you wanted to stop it, you would have been destroying a longer term project. And even though in the past 47 years we paid a very heavy price with Islamic rule, I think if you look back at this, like zoom out and look at the 500-year result of it, you will see that the 47-year price that we paid was necessary for what eventually came after. Like we Iranians are considered modern people with classical liberal views for democracy and secularism and the rule of law and patriotic. And if we didn't have the Pahlavis, we could have been closer in attitude to people like in Afghanistan and Pakistan. So, and if Muhammad Reza Shah crushed the revolution, we would have never understood what Pahlavi was trying to do, and we would have never been supporting it to the degree that we are right now. The imperialist project that started all of this was the Russian imperial project, and it was such a big bomb that we didn't notice how big of a damage that was, because Muhammad Reza Shah was improving Iran so much, but the ripple effect of it caused the Islamic Revolution, and now we're going to go back to continuing the project that Pahlavi started in Iran.
Do you think if the king had just totally crushed it the way Savak told him to, do you think the Iranian people would have turned against him in mass?
I don't know if that would have happened, but I know they wouldn't be so pro Pahlavi today. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that people are shouting Javid Shah more than they would have during the Shah's time right now, because the Iranian people now are finally as mature and understanding as the Shah was 47 years ago.
Yes.
To be able to get to this level of understanding, they had to experience what not having Pahlavi is like.
But if he had just totally crushed it the way he was advised to do, there's a lot of people who wouldn't have suffered at the
Yeah.
hands of the Islamic Republic, and they would have been saved. And if you had to deal with a population that didn't like what he did, who thought he was mean, or he killed the mullahs, that's horrible. Like maybe that's just something you would have had to deal with. And if you had that, maybe over the course of the last over 50 years, I think you could have overcome that if he had done that. I really do.
But I think that Iranian people, like, think about the past 47 years as the most expensive education that we had to pay for. It was very, very expensive, and I understand. But I think that this is why the Iranian people want freedom and secularism and the rule of law and patriotic views more than many people around the world. And I think what we gained from this, and anti-Islamic views, I value that as well. I think
Yes.
short term the cost was very high, but I think over the long term, what we gained from this 47 years might have been even higher than what we lost over the long term.
Hmm.
Uh, Cat Lady wanted to ask what specifically the Soviets did.
Cat lady?
No, I'm reading the question basically. She just
Oh,
asked
say,
what
oh,
did the
read the question again. Sorry, read the question again.
she just put in
Yeah.
chat what did the Soviets do with respect to the Iranian Revolution in '79.
Oh, the Soviets were responsible for spreading communism inside Iran, having a lot of agents and spies, and with the intention of basically taking the northern parts of Iran and adding that to the Soviet Union. And they're the reason why we had the communist uprising, the communist terrorists against the Shah, which eventually turned into the communist Islamic unity, which the Shah referred to as the black and the unholy black red alliance. And the 1979 Islamic Revolution was basically, it wasn't an Islamic revolution, it was a Marxist Islamic revolution that eventually after 1979 turned more Islamic than communist. But in 1979 it was as Marxist as it was Islamic. And before, just a few years before 1979, it was completely communist. So the revolution of 1979 was because of the Soviet Union.
Yes.
All right, I'd like to skip to Ila now because we're getting close to the
Guys,
time
close your
limit,
mics if you're not speaking.
and then after we can go back to Francesco. But Ila,
Hi, I have a cute
Hi.
story, a sweet story, because you were talking about the shop. So I will tell a sweet story. That I was in my village last week because we had this holiday, and I was telling everybody about Iran and, just letting them know. And then they said, that our village sent strawberries to the wedding of the Shah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
That's the
That
story.
is cute.
They came from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They came to our village to ask for strawberries for the wedding of the Shah. And
Oh, that's a cute story. I like that. Okay, that's
so
good.
everybody was excited and well informed, and I thought I was telling them something new. But
Oh, that's cute. That's cute. Before we go to the next person, I did want to, Hila, thank you for sharing that. That was very sweet. I did want to mention something that I was thinking but didn't get a chance to add, is that I am more and more, again, this might come off as, I have to be careful how I word this. So when we talk about international law, everyone speaks about it as if it's a positive thing. And until you remember, international law means UN framework. And here, we understand that the UN framework is not serving the world as it should be, especially given that the UN framework is very anti-Israeli, right? So remember, when we talk about international law, we're talking about an anti-Israeli framework, right? That we are basically endorsing every time we say, like, "Oh my God, international law is so good," right? So this is why I am more accepting that America, when international law is not serving America, they should ignore it. I am more willing than before to say that America should just, they should, if international law, if enforcing international law is serving U.S. interests, then they should force other people to abide by it. But if United States itself abiding by international law doesn't serve U.S. interests, they should just go ahead and violate it, in my opinion. A lot of people suggest that if the United States violates international law, then this is like the Piers Morgan argument against this, right? Piers Morgan said, like, then we don't have any arguments against Putin. Putin went and invaded Ukraine, and we said that was a violation of international law. And China invading Taiwan, that would be say, like, oh, China shouldn't do that because that's a violation of international law. But if the United States goes and does these things, then we have no arguments against Russia or China. And I would just wanted to spend some time responding to that, because this is, if in my opinion, a retarded argument, because they're like, well, that didn't stop Putin. Like, people are giving an example as if Putin was going to invade Ukraine, but Putin had so much respect for international law that they just didn't. So by giving the Putin example, you're actually showing us that just being a role model for the rest of the world, well, like, Putin never thought like, oh, I'm going to invade Ukraine, but oh my God, look at America. Such that's such a good country as a role model. They're just so good at following international law. I'm just so inspired by Americans that I'm just going to not invade Ukraine, right? This is so inspirational. Like, this is like, oh my, like, I'm learning from Americans how to behave as a country. Like, and I don't think, like, in Chinese calculation, it's like China's like, oh my God, we really want to invade Taiwan, but these damn Americans, they're just accepting, like, they're just so good at following international law that, God damn it, we have zero excuses. Like, we can't invade Taiwan because America just follows international law to the letter, so we have to just give up on this project. They will come up with a reason to suggest that is not at all a barrier. That is not at all an obstacle for them. Americans following international law is not going to be at all part of the reasoning for why Russia would not invade Ukraine or other Eastern European countries, or why China might recalculate what they're doing when it comes to Taiwan. If they want to invade, China considers Taiwan to already be China. So they don't think that they're violating any international law. Why would they be like, oh, we're not going to invade Taiwan because this is in accordance to international law? Taiwan is already China in their opinions, anyways. And you saw Russia, they already had excuses for, like, oh, we're just doing special operations to fight Nazis. And then they went in there and they had their fake referendum. So they do whatever they need to do to make it seem like whatever violations of international law they're doing is in accordance to international law anyways. So this idea that United States needs to follow international law so that other countries don't have an excuse is retarded, because the only thing that is stopping these countries from doing what we want them, what would we stopping them from doing what we don't want them to do, is the American military. Is American military and the American military might is what makes them recalculate. Not a bunch of laws that you wrote on a piece of paper and you think like, oh my God, this is like treated as sacred text. The laws that you write on a piece of paper does not change the calculation of China, Russia, North Korea, or the Islamic Republic. The military might of the United States is what holds them back, and it's the only thing that is holding them back. So, if you want stability and if you want order, you need to be leaning in on what's working. And America needs to unchain America into demonstrating and using its military might wherever it needs to. And in fact, I think these United Nations standards is encouraging China and Islamic Republic and Russia to, it's emboldening them because it's holding back America. So I think ignoring these international standards and just letting America's military to loose is more productive when it comes to basically holding these powers back than the United Nations. So again, I'm just basically summarizing that I think that we need to rely more on the US and less on the UN. And if UN is a limiting factor on what the US can do, then fuck the UN and yes to American military might doing what it needs to do to hold these evil powers back. All right, I saw a couple of people wanted to respond back to me.
Yeah, we had like 4 people. Let's do like 2 sentences each because we have 10 minutes. So first we have Cat Lady.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, good. So I think that Europe and the world actually after World War II were were so like traumatized by the wars, which some of them they started, some of them they responded, whatever. But they said, "Oh no, we have to stop this." So they sat down and wrote rules. What it meant in reality is that it right now maybe we'll take a little bit of time off, but pretty
Two
much
sentences.
no, yeah, for now. Pretty much it continued the same way, and now we pretend now we don't do this anymore. That's it. That's my second sentence.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then next, Samantha.
I was gonna say Armin is very much right about how like, okay, it's stopping China from invading Taiwan is not, some like human rights law. It's the US military. Like that I agree with him, correct. What I'm gonna say though is look, the day will come where America is not the strongest military power. It does not like no society or country will always indefinitely for the end of times be the strongest military power. The day will come. America's time will come where it is not the strongest world military power. And when that time comes, there's no guarantee that the precedent America sets will be followed by the next military superpower. But the odds are in your favor if you set a good precedent and are more
Okay.
humanitarian. Like what kept the I just want to say, like what kept the and another thing is like, the Russians. What kept us safe in the Cold War was the fact that neither side wanted to get nuked. So neither side used the nuke because there was just that like, understanding of like neither of us are going to use our nuke here because neither of us want to get nuked. So we're just not, you know, you do want to set that precedent of there's certain red lines that we're not going to cross it. That what other regimes, even if you don't like them, yes, some regimes are fanatic and will cross every red line, but like some regimes can still be pretty bad, but still a fear of having a red line crossed on them might keep them from crossing another red line.
Just quickly, okay, just quickly, I think America's time, if it comes, where America's
No.
maintains a superpower status right now for the foreseeable future, and the gap between American power and other countries is increasing. It's not decreasing, it's increasing.
Yeah.
So if America is not the world superpower, by that time we don't even have nation states anymore. We're a completely different species by that point. Like that's how long we have to wait for that. I think we're at that point we're just like a connected network. We're not like, I don't even know if we're going to have human beings by that point. I think we're just all going to be in the cloud, and we don't even have countries by that point when America is not a superpower. I think we're all just uploaded in the cloud, connected with each other or something like that. I think we don't have nation states at that point. We have networks. So I'm not like, by that point I don't even know if the word superpower means anything anymore. But even if it was like not like that, and America is going to stop being a superpower and another nation state is going to be a superpower, and we have to be worried about like, oh my god, I hope they behave correctly. I don't think America setting a precedent is what determines how they're going to behave. Like, imagine America is not a superpower, and 200 years from now we have another superpower. I don't think they're going to be like, we want to be evil, but the previous superpower left a really good precedent that we are forced to abide by. I don't think that's going to be the limiting factor. I don't think that's going to stop them. Like, so I don't think
No,
that's,
I mean,
yeah.
some, like I said, there's definitely regimes that like it won't stop them, but you're thinking a little too much like in a weird way. Think more Russia not dropping a nuke on America because Russia doesn't want a nuke dropped on them. Like, think less altruism in terms of like, oh, we're not going to do this because we care about people. We're not going to do this because if we can keep the precedent going of no one does this, we don't have to, then we're less likely to have this done to us, and we don't want this.
I don't think that's going to be the obstacle. I think the reason why they don't drop atomic bombs at each other because their economies are too tied with each other, and dropping atomic bombs on each other just kills their own economy. I don't think they're gonna like, we really want to drop an atomic bombs on each other, but god damn it, they were just so good at not dropping bombs on us, so we're just going to basically continue doing that. I don't think that's how it works, but okay.
You don't think if America didn't have like any more atomic bombs and Russia was the only country holding an atom bomb, Russia wouldn't be a little bit more quick to use it?
Samantha, people are not just going to drop atomic bombs on each other just because they're like, it doesn't make any sense. The global economy is so intertwined with each other. You have to be so like, that's not going to happen. Like, that's not what something you need to be worried about. Like, if United States goes away, the whole world's economy is going to collapse, including their own economy.
Yes. She's talking about MAD, though, mutually assured destruction. She's saying that they're not doing it because if they did, it would get them nuked as well. It's purely out of self-interest, and that's what she's saying.
But it's not based on precedent. It's not based on like, you guys were such good
I mean,
boys.
at some level, we are keeping this precedent of we're not going to mutually cure each other.
Like, history changes so much. Like, what are we doing right now that was based on a precedent set 200 years ago for this to be something that you think is going to be our future? Nothing has ever worked like that. No government has said that this is our policy because previous people before us that had this policy. Like, nobody has ever said that. No empire has ever said that.
Yeah, you make a good point, Samantha, but the problem with it is that if America were to disappear, then there would be nothing holding them back anymore. There would be nothing to stand in their way, and thus no reason not to drop nukes if they saw it as being to their advantage to do so. So if what you fear could happen did happen in terms of America fading away, that wouldn't be a thing anymore. It wouldn't be a deterrent because we wouldn't be there anymore. It's a good point, but like if we went away, that would be it.
Who else wanted to speak?
I was going to say, Armin, I was just going to ask you real quick. Do you think America is really going to last that long until the point where we're a new species?
Yeah, because America is the last superpower. I don't think there's any time for anyone else to be a superpower. I think America is going to be stopping a superpower when there is no more. It doesn't even mean anything to be a superpower.